Natalie B. Fitness deciding that transgender women no longer being invited to her women's only gym when 4 years ago she said that transgender women were accepted at her women's only gym.
Hey y'all, welcome to Sessa Spill, and today we are spilling about Natalie B. So she started a women's only gym, and initially she said everyone was welcome. Tell me why 5 years down the line right now she's saying that trans women are not welcome, and this has sparked a conversation on social media. People with different
YouTubers are
opinion are
known
sharing their
to be
thoughts.
pranksters
Anyway guys, let's go
sometimes, not
listen to
all
what
the
people thought
time.
about all of
But when
this,
you
and
use
I'll be
something
back
as
with my
sensitive.
thoughts.
In 2021, 4 years ago, I made a tweet, and the tweet referenced my women's only gym, the Girls Spot, and being trans inclusive. Now, when I made that tweet in 2021, I had just announced my plans to open a women's only gym. I hadn't thought out the vision or the mission or what it would entail, but all I knew is that I wanted to open a gym. We are now 4 years later, and I have had a great deal of time to figure that out. The Girls Spot Gym exists as a safe space for women because women are facing gym harassment, sexual assault, and sexual violence inside of gyms, and I know that because I'm a victim of it. So the meaning of the Girls Spot Gym is now entirely different, and I say this to say that whilst we are a gym, inside we are focusing on self-defense classes, Muay Thai, boxing classes, as well as workshops and activations around PCOS and training on your menstrual cycle, all of which occur to biological women. Majority of the women who are seeking my women's only gym, the Girl Spot, are coming here because they have faced some level of gym intimidation or sexual violence and assault that has been perpetrated by men. So as the owner of the gym, it is very important to make it clear how my women's only gym will be operating, and it will be operating as a single sex space for biological women. Now, we do believe that everybody deserves a safe space, and there are many gyms that are starting to have mixed cubicles and changing rooms so that individuals can feel safer and more included in these environments. But the Girl Spot Gym as a standalone is a female-only gym because it is imperative that I stick to the vision and the mission and ensure that these women feel safe.
Yeah, create a women's only gym and then make it so it's only for biological women. I hear what she's saying. It's considered, I've spoken to the trans community, I've spoken to trans women, but it's not. So we've created a place that's for people who wouldn't feel safe in traditional gyms, and we've created a place that's safe for women, but we've also managed to include trans people. I understand that it's a fine line for her. She wants to create a safe space for women, and she's trying to say, oh, it's not transphobic, but at the end of the day, they're not considered in it. They've not been considered. Where are trans men in the conversation? Are trans men welcome? Because technically they're biologically female. I don't think they are welcome. So that's not been made clear. So trans women should be allowed to go. Doesn't make sense. Pick a side. People have asked for a trans-only time. So during these hours, trans women can come in, or maybe have a section that's just for trans women. But she said that time, space, size, only being one woman meant that she couldn't do that. But we've managed to do it in a smaller space than hers as well. Like the trans women groups, trans men groups, women-only groups. This is a space that's just for cis women, meaning trans men are not included, trans women are not included. She has to just wear it. And if it's her choice that she just wants to prioritise cis women, fine, do it. And if you're someone who does want to be in a safe space and knows that it's needed, but you're not going to be included at the Girl Spot, then come to the alternative. I would say, speaking directly to Natalie, it's great what you're doing. I think it's really needed. I'm really happy to see a black woman doing this. However, if you want to have a conversation with a woman and someone who identifies as gender non-conforming, who have done what you've done with less resources and less money in a smaller space, we are really happy to have that conversation, because the main problem here is education. Drop us a DM. Me and my partner are really happy to talk about it because it is needed. That conversation is needed. If you want to genuinely change your approach and make it safe for women, then hit us up, because that's what we're doing here at The Alternative.
Natalie B. Fitness deciding that transgender women no longer being invited to her women's only gym when 4 years ago she said that transgender women were accepted at her women's only gym is not transphobic. She just missed out on a very small demographic of women, and it's no longer inclusive. But it's one blood clot gym. I'm sure the trans community will be very fine. All I want to know is, What safety measures, keyword safety, because that is what the creation of this gym is centered around. What safety measures will be put in place to differentiate trans women from biological cisgender women? Because I have witnessed women that are very tall, broad shoulders, deep voice, even down to a bad wig, be misgendered. So how exactly are you going to do this? My thing is, thinking that you can make an announcement like this in a 1-minute video, especially when the topic is gender, a subject that is very complex, whether you like it or not. We live in the UK. The way the video was structured was insane as well. Talking about the previous tweet you made, then going on to the safety of women and harassment from men, to then back to announcing that trans women are no longer accepted and it's a biological women only safe space is crazy. And although social media is a great way to market and document the growth of your business, please figure out the legalities first before coming on here and making announcements, because you've got people in the comments that don't even go to the blood clot gym projecting their ignorance.
In 1994, the term cis women was created as an antonym to the term trans women. Antonym literally means opposite. The problem with the Natalie situation of making it a cis women's gym is the fact that trans women do not call themselves trans women. Some of them do, but not all of them do. I feel like as a trans woman, to empower your community, you should be proud about your past. Being born in one way and wanting to transition in another way because you feel like that's not how you were supposed to be born, you should be proud of that. There's nothing to be ashamed of. At the end of the day, I think it's wrong to call Natalie phobic just because she wants a women's only gym. Women should have remained as the title women. If there's going to be a trans women gym, it should be called trans women. The same way, if you go out with a guy, you let him know you're a trans woman. You don't just say, I'm a woman, you say, I'm a trans woman. Now, why has the term trans woman become so negative? Because at the end of the day, you're always, as long as you are a trans woman, going to have to bring up the fact that you're a trans woman at some point in certain situations. My issue is the entitlement being equated to transphobia. Let's look at the dictionary definition of transphobia. A dislike or of strong prejudice against transgender people. Is dislike in the room with us? Is prejudice in the room with us? Guys, we've got to stop overusing the term transphobic. If Natalie wants a cis woman only space, she's entitled to do that, and we are entitled to be there. If there's going to be a trans woman only space, that's entitled too. If she wants to open up another venue where it's trans women only, that's fine. Maybe it won't include cis women. Everybody is entitled to having their own safe space. At the end of the day, when you turn to a woman in the gym and you're talking about your time of the month, a trans woman is not going to be able to relate to a cis woman. When she's given lessons about the cycle to young women or pregnancy lessons, a trans woman is not going to be able to relate to a cis woman. Now, why can't you be transgender and proud? Why do you have to act like you are a cis woman? You are a trans woman, I am a cis woman, and that's fine. And trans woman is literally the opposite of a cis woman, because if you look at Google and search up for yourself in a dictionary, atonym literally means opposite. And cis woman, the term cis woman was made in 1944 for an atonym for trans women. If it's about scamming and her being donating, then there's a bigger discussion that needs to be had. Should we be calling trans women women, or should we be calling trans women trans women? And that's a discussion that needs to be had. At the end of the day, it comes to how you treat people. I have trans women friends. If I'm going to meet up with my trans women, I'm not going to treat them like a man. I'm going to treat them as a trans woman. And a trans woman would like to be treated as a woman. But yet still, the title trans woman still stands to differentiate them from a cis woman. And I'm sorry, guys, what's the point of pretending? We all know what it is. And I don't think it should be called transphobia when Google is free and you can literally search up what that means.
The gym, it is very important to make it clear how my women's only gym will be operating, and it'll be operating as a single sex space for biological women. Now, I
know the queer community already has a lot on its plate, and I hate to be the bearer of yet another demand, but I'm gonna need trans man to step up to the front of the stage, because there is a trick here that shots be missed. I need every beefy man with a punani in the United Kingdom to be posted up at this gym on opening day. Yes, I do. And I want it to look scary. A little bit intimidating. That's what I want. Anyways.
She knows she's not going to lose out on any money. Like, she can rest assured knowing that like a big part of her consumer base are not going to turn away from her because of this. Like, she's very much able to rely on the fact that like transphobia does run so rampant within the Black community. I think one of my biggest wishes for like the Black female community would be that we'd become more secure in our womanhood, to where we wouldn't have to subjugate the population of women that experiences the most harassment and like the most sexual violence, etc. Like, at the moment, like, I'm sure Natalie B Fitness doesn't have an issue turning back on the things she said in 2021, because 2021 was very much a like political correctness was at the forefront of everybody's minds, and it wouldn't really serve her well to promote her brand in this like exclusive mindset. Like, now with this rise of conservatism, there aren't really any pitfalls to her exhibiting transphobic rhetoric, especially within the Black community, where so many people's perception on gender is informed by like religion, or even like the values that we've come to adopt, even if they're not inherently cultural values, like the values we've come to kind of like adopt. So like, even if she does come out and apologize, which I really, really doubt, but even in the instance where that did happen, she's not going to change her business plan, because a big part of her consumer base, which is going to be women of color, specifically Black women, like, they're not gonna ride behind trans people on this issue. Like, they're definitely not. People barely care about gay rights. They're not gonna care when it comes to this kind of issue, which is like really, really unfortunate. But I feel like that's why she knows that like, regardless of the controversy online, her pockets are still going to be lined, because unfortunately a lot of people like don't care about issues that don't affect them. Because if there's an opportunity to stand above someone in the social hierarchy, like, people are going to take it. Time and time again, the Black community has shown that like, if there's an opportunity to kind of be above someone because of the way that we've been subjugated, if there's an opportunity to now you're above someone, like, people are always going to take the opportunity, like, and this is just another example of that.
And it'll be operating as a single-sex space for biological women.
This is a topic that needs to be spoken more about. I am a female-only coach. That does not mean I discriminate against trans women. And if a trans woman came to me and said, "Hey Liv, I want to achieve more of a feminine physique," then yes, I'd help you and I would treat you the exact same as any of my other clients. I've been training in a gym since I was about 14, and I have also been working in a gym as a personal trainer since, 4 years ago, let's say. I love the idea of women-only gyms. I think it will motivate a lot more women, and I think it will help a lot more women to feel comfortable and safe in a space such as a gym. However, I do not think this topic is black and white. I do think it's in a very grey space. I understand from the point of view that religious women, such as Muslim women, would want a safe space to take their hijabs off, to feel a little bit more free, and to possibly wear tighter clothing to work out in, as they're away from the male gaze. However, I can also understand that trans women would also want a safe space to train in and to be with their girls and to be with their friends, because I have grown up around gay men, because I was a dancer and I did shows and I was a performer, and I have seen all walks of life really, and gay men get a lot of hate. So I cannot imagine the amount of hate and the amount of abuse that trans women receive in a gym. Also, needless to say that this world is still very homophobic, very racist, and still very sexist. And I am saying that as a Gen Z that has grown up very inclusive and very accepting of anyone and everyone. I myself do not have any trans women friends, so cannot really speak on the topic of how they may feel. However, I follow Bella on TikTok, and Bella was in Heartstopper, and I thought that was an absolutely amazing series. Besides the point, I would not turn Bella away from my coaching, and I would definitely not turn Bella away from my women's only gym. And I would love to hear what trans women actually have to say upon this topic, but I would also love to hear what other women would have to say upon this topic too. I think the way Natalie could please all women is possibly by having different classes for different goals and different types of women. In the aspect of having possibly trans women only sessions, trans women only PTs or trans women only classes, so that they can then build on specific areas of their body to achieve more of an hourglass figure or whatever their goals may be. I also think that she should have classes for specific religions, like Muslim women, for example, so they can build a community as well, especially in times like Ramadan or Lent or any other religious festival or holiday. And everybody should have a safe space to work out in where they feel comfortable and they feel happy. And I think that would probably be the best way to go around it, because then people can develop their own communities and develop their own friendships through relating to each other. However, there is also an option for mixed classes and mixed abilities and mixed walks of life, and that should also be allowed in the gym too. Unfortunately, I think her video has come across poorly, and I don't think she intended it to be that way. I don't think she is discriminating necessarily, and I don't think she's transphobic. However, as a business owner, I'm trying to stick up for her, but at the same time I'm not sticking up for her, because if it was my gym, I would allow every woman to be there. And it's also opened up the opportunity for trans men to walk into the gym as they are born biological women. And again, are you going to turn them away just because they may look more masculine or they may sound more masculine? It's a very grey space, but I would love to hear what you guys think. Also, to add on to that last bit I just mentioned, are you going to ask for a birth certificate when signing up? Are you going to ask for legal ID? Are you going to ask for proof that they may have had a sex change?
I keep seeing this comment, oh, make your own spaces then. Do you know that that's like saying to black people in the 1950s, oh, just make your own spaces. Like, it's fine if society segregates you. You should just make your own spaces. And that should be fine for you. Like, why can't you just put up with that? You do see the parallels, right? Like, I'm not crazy. All the girlies in the comments are actually standing on business. Like, we're not crazy. We're just looking at two things and seeing that they're the fucking same. Segregation is segregation, okay? It's based on lines which are drawn by society, white supremacists, men, and patriarchy. And the more that we entrench these things between us, the more that we will hurt ourselves. Sorry, I just spat at you. I think I can speak on this topic because I went to a women's only college in Cambridge, and as per their website, at the admissions level, we will consider any student who at the point of application identifies as a woman. Doesn't matter if you're trans or not. And where they have been identified as male at birth, has taken steps to live in the female gender, or has been legally recognised as female via the Gender Recognition Act of 2004. Point is, women-only spaces exist with trans women in them. And I went to one of them, and I can tell you for a fact, I have never felt safer than when I was in my college at uni. Like, there was nothing more freeing than being able to walk around knowing that, you know, most of the time, you're going to be fucking safe with the people around you. And that was a trans-inclusive space. Like, it wasn't perfect. I'm sure that the trans people within my college will have some really, like, interesting things to say about how the college actually ran in terms of that. However, I don't have that experience. All I can say is, as a cis woman, I felt incredibly safe in that space. And I don't know a single person who felt threatened by the presence of a trans woman in their college. Because it's insane. If you're threatened by the very notion of that, you're transphobic. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Everyone's just trying to get on with their day. In Natalie's case, everyone's just trying to have a fucking workout. No one's threatening anyone. The threat has always been from cis men. Let's unite on that. And let's realise that trans women are women. They're not men in disguise. And let me not even get into the fact of like how insane it is that people are kind of equating trans women with some kind of nefarious like sexual deviance. Like, please do some research, because that is one of the most tired, like just a homophobic, transphobic stereotypes. And let me just remind you, you've probably been in a public bathroom with many, many trans women and you just haven't known. And nothing happened.
Obviously, everyone has said that Natalie girl, whatever her name is a big, fat, bumbling loser. But I just wanted to add my 2 cents. If you're going to open a gym and go out of your way to exclude trans women, a woman's only gym, but you're going to exclude trans women. Okay, cool. What are you doing there? Is it a circle where TERFs meet and you have your TERFy meetings and you sit in a circle and you jerk each other off? And then when you finish, you sit and talk about your periods? I don't get it. I don't get what's happening in the gym that trans women can't be there. Hello?
Why is there so much issues with Natalie wanting only biological women in the gym? Because if it's really a problem, why doesn't someone who's an advocate for the LGBTQ community open up a gym or an inclusive place for LGBTQ? The same way Natalie has taken her time to open up her space for women only, like, why didn't that just happen? Because what happens when men start pretending to identify as trans just to get into the gym? It's not going to be a safe space for women. And even though trans women aren't necessarily threatening, maybe not all women feel that they can trust trans. I don't know. I'm just saying, like, why don't you guys just open up your own, the same way she's put her effort in to building her gym after all these years, like...
Not to be defending Natalie B Fitness and her whole views on the trans community, because that is above me intellectually. You know, I don't have the depth or the realm or whatever it is, the scope to discuss that topic. But let's stop saying that it was a bait and switch. Okay? In terms of public funding, she's broken it down. Her GoFundMe raised 22,000. Yeah? 20k of that came from Gymshark. The public only raised £2,000. The reason why Gymshark donated to her is because she and them had a long-standing relationship. She has been a fitness influencer and worked with them before. Okay? The rest of the money that she got, 50k, was from her own money, and then the rest was from her trying to find loans. So it was not a bait and switch. It was not your money that was used to go into that. So let's be accurate when we're talking, okay?
How many people have actually been intimidated by trans women in the gym? So in my 6 years of going to the gym, I've only ever met one trans woman. Like, I'm so curious as to where people are going to the gym where trans women are such a problem that they have to campaign for them to no longer be in their spaces anymore. Even in the fitness space, the gym space, I don't see a lot of influencers that are like trans women. So I don't know how they're able to take up this much space in people's minds when they don't even take up that much space in reality.
All right, so let's talk about this Natalie Fitness lady and the lady that crowd surfed to open her own women's only gym. And a few years ago, she said that it was going to be trans inclusive. And now she's kind of changed her stance and is making the gym only for like biological women. The thing is, there's a lot of takes on that situation. I'm not going to really bring this up to each their own. But what I found really interesting was the fact that she only used Muslim women in the groups of people that she spoke to, and then said, and other groups. And I found that very, very interesting. The question here is like, why are Muslim women being used like as a justification for this, for her decision? Okay, so if like Muslim women's comfort is really, really a priority for you, we need to discuss what that looks like. I.e., one thing that came to my head just now was, are you going to allow people to record in the gym? Because if it's a safe space for Muslim women where they can actually like take off their headscarf, because you did mention that you've like blinded the windows, right? Are you going to allow people to record in there? Because I know a lot of gyms allow it, and a lot of women don't like going to the gym because they don't want to end up being on someone's video. Do you get what I'm saying? And ending up on social media. So is that going to be allowed? If you want to make this space truly safe and comfortable for Muslim women, it's actually not just only about who's allowed in. It's about privacy, it's about modesty, it's about like making sure people do not film while people are working out. At the end of the day, this just doesn't feel like you are prioritizing Muslim women, and it's less about prioritizing Muslim women and more about using us as a justification to your exclusionary policy.
Let me say something and let me make it quick, sharp and clear, yeah? Black women, specifically black cis women, you do not gain anything from being transphobic. You do not gain anything from being transphobic. Aligning yourselves with ideologies that have hysterically harmed us in the past does not help you get further ahead in life, okay? Claiming that the gym was supposed to be LGBTQ friendly and not being inclusive and welcoming to the most marginalized group in the entire world, specifically black trans women, what are you doing? What's going on? I hate it when I see black cis women or black women in general be transphobic, because the same transphobia they're using towards trans women is what they use to justify our dehumanization. So enough. Thank you.
It is actually diabolical and a little bit problematic to position yourself as a trans ally, be like a trans activist, crowd fund for your first women's only gym, only to rug pull your clients by saying actually it's just for biological women only. Like, my first question is, how the fuck are we gonna police this? Like, are you gonna transvestigate every single woman that comes in that like doesn't present feminine? Like, are you gonna ask to look up people's skirts whenever they're a little androgynous presenting, or maybe like they don't conform to your ideals of femininity? And the thing that's also really disappointing about the way that she positioned her argument is the fact that like trans women suffer higher rates of abuse and higher rates of SA. Like, they are also victims of abuse and SA, especially, I assume, in gyms with men. So positioning it as like a safe space for women when excluding women from it that also suffer at higher rates of abuse, like, kind of problematic. And then being like, oh, it's for like women with periods and like we're learning how to train outside of our periods. What about women that don't get periods? What then? What about women that don't present your way of femininity? How are you going to police this? It immediately raises questions of like, oh, okay, so it's your understanding of what it means to be a woman. Cool. And then the other thing that pisses me off about this is that trans women in the UK make up 0.1%. Trans people in the UK make up 0.1% of the British population. And yet right-wing media, politicians, and now this girl hyper-focus on trans women as the issue when they themselves are also victims of male sexual abuse and like abuse from men in general. It's just a very weird thing to make a mountain out of a molehill about. Like, I don't really understand it.
What I find particularly bad mind is that you waited until people gave you money and you had your business to then come out and say that you're actually transphobic. Because when people were asking whether this was a trans inclusive space, this was obviously people asking whether they should invest their money into your business to have a safe space to exercise in. And you knew that. That's conniving and that's sneaky. You didn't open your mouth and say, yes, this is a trans-inclusive space. And especially when you've been trying to fight scammer allegations all this time, you've been trying to get this business up and running. You say, yes, there's a trans-inclusive space. And then once you actually take the people them's money and open the business, you now tell them they can't enter. That's a scam. You're a scammer. That's really nasty. Because it's very convenient that you didn't mention that this wasn't trans-inclusive before you had the business. Now that you've got the gym and now you've got the business, now you want to say, oh, actually, by the way, thanks for the money, you can't enter. And your reasoning doesn't even make sense anyway. It's a space for women to be free from sexual harassment. I want you to Google the stats of the rate of sexual harassment and rape and murder of trans women right now and tell me they don't need a space to be safe in. It doesn't make sense on so many fronts. Like, it doesn't make sense on any front, actually. Because how are you even going to police this biological woman rule? By that logic, trans men can enter your gym. So trans men can enter your gym, but women who are women can't enter your gym. Doesn't make sense. None of this makes sense. But transphobia doesn't make sense. So I guess that's that.
One thing about this Natalie fitness thing is it makes you realise how much of a bubble that you live in when you are friends with people, you surround yourself with people who have similar values to you, human rights, believing in literal basic human rights, because you kind of just, you know, get used to people being normal. So Hallie from Big Brother, love her, basically posted a video saying that she was in an all women's self-defense class with Natalie like a few weeks ago, and obviously no one had an issue with Hallie being there because why would you? And some of the comments, guys, love Hallie, but biological women are very different from trans women. You are much stronger and could potentially hurt women. I checked and I'm still a very petite female who would be intimidated and frightened if a 6.2 foot biological male was paired with me in a self-defense class with lots of flipping and shoving. I'm 5 foot. If I was paired up with Hallie, she could kill me with a shove. There have now been so many studies that prove that biological men have massive strength advantage. It's just crazy that people are so comfortable spewing out this hate that obviously feeds into this idea that basically trans women are men in wigs that are out to like hurt women, sexually assault women, whatever. It's just very disappointing, and Natalie maybe should have known that coming out with what she came out with was gonna open up this space for people to comfortably talk about all this stuff, because I've been lucky enough to see so many women who have similar views to me that, you know, it's a stupid decision, but when you start getting into the comments on videos, it's actually insane. And like, if you want to see something really dark, the Shade Borough, the comments in the Shade Borough post that they did about Natalie, oh my days.
Hey, I'm a black queer person from the UK, so I feel like I do have a say when it comes to this situation. I do not know the creator nor I watch her videos, but sometimes it will come on my feed and I don't really care for her very much because I don't like her tone when it comes to her videos. I don't know, it just comes off as very ugh. So I don't really care, and plus I'm not the right demographic. But I've heard there is a controversy where she says that she wants to have a female-only gym, which that's not the problem. Like, she could do her own thing. Like, that's her gym. But my problem is the fact that she, in 2021, she made a fundraiser for this very gym with the promise that it was going to be trans-inclusive, only for her to backtrack, basically not too long ago, that it's not going to be trans-inclusive because she wants only, in her words, biological women to be in that gym, which, don't get me wrong, I understand, but the way she even said it in her video, it was like she was talking about how this gym was meant to be for the women who have been assaulted at gyms and wanted to have a safe space to do their gyms, which, don't get me wrong, it's a good reason as to why you want to open your gym, and I'm so glad that you decided to do that. But my problem is that why did you have to mention that to justify wanting to exclude trans women from entering to your gym? Because it's kind of given that you're trying to give that perspective that this trans woman is going to go and attack women, which is such a dangerous thing to be pushing out there, because of this sort of narrative. This is the reason why so many trans women get beaten, harassed, maybe even raped as well. They even got murdered. There's so many like murders that involves trans women, and it's just so sad. And it's because people make narratives like this, accusing trans women of being creeps, accusing trans women of being predators, when majority of them are not like that. They are just women that are just trying to live their life as they are, because they couldn't do it when they were young because they felt like they were born in the wrong body. And it just feels so weird that someone who have advertised their plans for the gym that they wanted to create as a trans-inclusive space for all women, an inclusive space for all women, let me not even say trans, but like inclusive for all women, to now exclude a certain group of women. It just doesn't make sense, like, honestly. Now, I have nothing else to say except I just want to know what's the safety protocols will be like if let's say they see a woman that looks very masculine to the point where they're going to accuse her of being like a trans woman or something. Because let's just be for real. The masculinization of black women is nothing new. This is something that's been happening for many, many years. There has been black women that has been ostracized, made fun of, ridiculed for having features that are typically masculine. Maybe they'll have like short, like certain really sharp jawline. Their faces are very masculine, and they've been teased over it, made fun of over it, told that they are not feminine enough. And imagine they're trying to go to a gym that is meant to be female only, just for them to be kicked out because they look too masculine. Oh, you look like a man. Like, I'm just saying, because let's just be for real. Transphobia, this stems from transphobia, because people think that they are able to tell the difference between a trans woman and a cisgender woman, when really, women come in all shapes and sizes. Women just come in all shapes and sizes. Like sometimes it's not going to be always noticeable. Women can also have Adam's apples too. Some women can look masculine. Some women can have broad shoulders. Some women can have deep voices. Like, those people exist. Those women exist. Yeah, those people are women. Especially cisgender women, as you guys want to say it. These are the women. And you're just going to kick them out because they look too masculine. I mean, that's just what I'm going to say, really.
Can somebody tell that gym lady, that women's only gym lady that's causing all this hoopla with her transphobia and stuff, that if she wanted to see my pussy, she could have just said that. She could have just said that. Because how else are you going to know besides doing a pussy check? You know what I'm saying? If she wanted to see pussy, if she wanted to see the pussy lip, she could have just said that. She should have just said what Boosie said. You know what I'm saying? Show me your pussy, I'll let you in my gym. You see what I'm saying? Like, that's what she should have did instead of all of this, because this is what it's giving me. Because how else are you going to know? How else are you going to know besides telling people you need to drop your jaws, I want to see your pussy lips? You know what I'm saying? She could have just came out. People just need to be real and say what the fuck it is that they really want. I think she just wants to see pussy lips. She wanted to see the pussy, and she didn't know how else to say it. I don't know why. She could just say, look, I want to see your pussy, baby. Look, you see, she could just say that. She should have just said, this is a pussy show. Show me pussy lips. This is a show me pussy gym. You gotta show your pussy in this gym. And that's people would have showed. I would have showed up. Shit, I like to. I'll show her my pussy. But like, she could have just said that. Cause what else are you going to do? What are you going to do at the door? How else are you going to know? Besides telling everybody you to drop your jaws, let me see your pussy hole. You see what I'm saying? This is actually ridiculous that people just can't say anymore. You know what? This censorship is really getting on my nerves. People really just need to be able to say, I want to see some pussy. He should just be able to say that instead of causing all this, like, I don't know. This is marketing. This is marketing. She's trying to market it so she get attention. And a lot of people, like, people will show up and be like, yeah, I got a pussy to see, but I can come in. And that's what it is. But that's how I feel about it. I feel like she should just say what Boosie said. You just switch it up a little bit and just be like, look, show me your pussy, I'll let you in my gym.
Shout out to Natalie B Fitness, who had a vision of a women's only gym, because men be doing the madness in the gym sometimes, and she is making it happen. And I used to always see her content come up. Like, in uni, I used to watch her YouTube videos when she was like just starting out, and I was thought, I wonder if she'll ever like be able to build the gym. I will say though, those silly narratives of like her stealing the money, that was ridiculous. Like, the truth of the matter is that you're going to try and do something, and there will be silly, hating people who can't even achieve anything as big as that, They're going to come and they're going to hate on you, and they're going to try and make it seem like you can't achieve it. Are you joking? Even for like Muslim women like me, a woman's only gym is such a lovely space, and the fact that she's actually like she's actually done it. Shout out to her. Like, I've always been a fan of her content. I don't know why people just give her a hard time. Like, yeah, she says it as it is. She calls out men when they do too much in the gym. And she doesn't call out men willy-nilly. She calls them out when she has seen something. I've always been a fan of Natalie. There's a big move. Like, I love to see it up and running.
I don't have many thoughts on this women-only gym other than, how the fuck are you going to be able to prove that someone is a biological woman when they try to come into your gym? How? How are we going to try to prove it? Are you going to have them drop their pants in front of you? Like, what is it? And to exclude a group of women who absolutely face danger, violence, just out in the streets alone, just like any other woman does, is crazy to me. Excluding them simply because they are not biological women, crazy. All this is doing is just perpetuating the same rhetoric that cis white men are using. Because what are you going to do when you have a more masculine presenting woman come into the door? You are perpetuating white supremacy this way, and the ideals of femininity are stemmed and rooted in white supremacy. And if you can't see that, I don't know how the fuck you're allowed to open a business like that. So, fuck you.
This whole conversation regarding the trans women not being allowed into the Girl Spot gym is really, really interesting, because I think people need to see the nuances in conversation, and this is why critical thinking is important. Regardless if the owner's intention is not to be transphobic, the message that you are sending in itself both promotes transphobia, fuels an argument for transphobia, and therefore is therefore transphobic. Because by saying that in order to make your space safe, trans women cannot be a part of it, sends a message that trans women risk the safety of cis women, which therefore suggests that they operate in the same way that cis het men would. Now that is dangerous, no matter what your intention is. Even if you are someone who wants equal spaces and safe spaces for women, trans women are a part of that because they operate in society as women, right? And are at risk of, and especially being a black female owner and seeing what happens to black trans women, and then also seeing how cis black women are treated for seeming masculine or for seeming not feminine enough. It speaks volumes. So I feel like this is even a message to people, to the owner. I think this is a message for people who are trying to say that, oh, people just, mincing her words and blah, blah, blah. No matter what her intentions were in that original video, it speaks towards something else. And if, unfortunately, you have to see who your allies are, because if you're in the comments and the people who are agreeing with you are actually completely explicitly transphobic, then you have to think about, are you on the right side of this argument? Think about the people who are agreeing with you.
This is Natalie B Fitness. She's basically opened up a female-only gym and said that trans women can't join the gym. I can understand why trans people are upset with this, because she did say 4 years ago when she wanted to open the female-only gym that trans women would be invited as well, and now they're suddenly not. But one thing I want to touch on is the fact that people don't know the difference between trans people and sissies. They literally do not. As somebody who dresses up men for a living, I will tell you right now how to tell the difference between somebody who is genuinely stuck in a different body, right? They're trans. They are a female. Because by the point that you've had all the surgeries anyway, you are just an infertile female. You are not trans to me anymore. You're a female. I hate using that word as well. But anyway, the difference. Sissies will be the most degraded version of a woman that you'll ever meet in your life. They'll be called something like Chanel. Sorry to all Chanels out there. But they'll think of like a very generic like stripper name. And then on top of that, they will wear very, very revealing clothing. Things that you feel like the ultimate woman would wear, like the sexiest woman in the world, she'll wear that. They'll wear heels, they'll want to wear lingerie, and they will keep their male features. That's what a sissy is. As I said, I deal with these people all the time, and they constantly ask me, shall I go out like this? Shall I do this? No. This is the problem, is that there are men out there who like dressing up as women, right? And for some reason, the world can't tell the difference because other men know that this is something that men are into, and they use it to project it onto every single trans person because they know it exists. It winds me up. It winds me up because your thing that you're into, your little freaky deaky thing, should be between you and somebody else who's consenting to learn about whatever you want and telling you what to do. You should never bring that out. You never ever bring that out to unconsenting parties. It's gross. I get why she opened the female-only gym, and I get why the majority of people wouldn't want trans people in there, because they think that trans people are sissies.
I'm coming from a space of education. I would like to be able to inform people that what she is saying is transphobic, right? The rhetoric around actual biological women doesn't make any sense. To be a woman is defined under gender. If you're talking about biology, you're talking about sex, which comes down to female and male characteristics. That still cannot be defined as simply as people want it to look. There are XX chromosomes, there are XY chromosomes, there are XXY chromosomes. People can be intersex, people can have mixed sex organs. People's lived experiences also differ depending on hormones. I'm also seeing dialogue in my comments about her being a black woman opening a business, which is absolutely commendable if she went about it the right way. Two things can be true at once, and ultimately, the trans community who face the most oppression are trans women of colour. And actually, many of the rights that women have today came from black trans women. Whether people see it or not, this is just creating more and more division, and it's upholding patriarchal standards. And the fact that race has been brought into this conversation is negating the fact that intersectionality exists. I don't want disinformation on my page, and I will respond to these kinds of comments because she clearly hasn't consulted the right people. Whoever she may or may not have consulted with, there is no way a good lawyer would have said, yeah, double down on this. They could have actually even given her language to work around it. If she wanted to go down that route and be transphobic, they could have given her better. But the way that it's been executed is terrible. And given the climate that we exist in, this is going to fuel right-wing behaviour. This is all interlinked. This will have a direct impact, and it will trickle through. It will trickle through. There is always opportunity to grow and learn, and it seems that the majority of people who are perpetuating this transphobia have very fixed mindsets. Open it up. The people who are having conversations with you are open-minded enough to still call you out on your bullshit.
Natalie B. Fitness has always been a bit of a weirdo, in my opinion. That's just my astute observation. What I will say is I always find it really interesting when black women and other women of colour choose to align themselves with transphobia and TERFs, mainly because women of colour have always been over-scrutinised and over-policed when it comes to presentations of gender and femininity, right? Historically, socially, whatever. And we're still living with those impacts today, specifically in the world of sport and fitness, right? Caster Semenya, Iman Khalif, Duty Chanda, Brittany Griner, Serena Williams, all these women who are women of colour and have been told or perceived as more masculine or whatever because of the way they look, because of the way they carry muscle, whatever. And so for black women to align themselves with misogyn war as well as transphobia is really interesting because they'll come for you too. Historically, they've always come for black women's femininity. Historically, they've always come for women of colour's femininity if it doesn't align itself with whiteness and with a very specific view of what it means to be a woman. And obviously this links with the move right and the rise of conservatism. But yeah, I don't know, food for thought for black women. Choose who you align yourself with properly, because hey, you might be a skinny black woman right now, but they will find a way to tell you that you're not a woman.
And you know what, another thing with the Natalie B Fitness and the girl sport thing is that second video, and I'm not saying this is what you said, or she's not watching this, I'm not saying this is what she said, and I'm not saying this is even what she implied. However, and this is why I said I know no PR guru was in on this because they would never have allowed it. To talk about, and let's say sexual assault, because TikTok likes to be irritating, in the same breath as the reason why trans women can't come to the gym, how do you think that feels to trans women? And I'm not even a trans woman, but even I went, oh yeah. I was already watching the video it's not feeling well thought through. To then say, and I'm really upset because people seem to be forgetting about sexual assault. Why did you do that? And also, I promise you, trans women aren't forgetting about sexual assault because they get sexually assaulted by these same men. Again, my whole thing with this is I'm not even talking about it being transphobic. I'm not talking about it, she's a horrible person. I'm not even on that angry hype. I'm just saying, I just think this was so poorly judged. The whole situation and how because there could have been a way that, don't get me wrong, it was never going to be a happy moment, right? But it could have been handled so much better.
4 years ago, I made a tweet, and the tweet referenced my women's only gym, the girls sport, and being trans inclusive. Now, when I made that
So I just want to come on here and have a really high level conversation about this because and the reason why I say it is because regardless of what everyone's thoughts are, I look at the young man or woman, the young entrepreneur now thinking, you know what, I'm going to be an entrepreneur one day, and I don't want them to get put off by this. And more importantly, I want people to learn the lessons and what can be taken. I want to have a high level conversation around what lessons can be taken from this crazy discourse in it. And obviously it's very, very polarizing and everyone's got their thoughts, everyone's got their opinions here. But what are the lessons? And I think me personally, as someone who's been an entrepreneur for a while now, as someone that was a CEO of a multi six-figure business for the past 3 years before leaving in November last year. And the funny thing about the situation is that I used to run network events, and I hosted 2 women's only network events twice, and for the exact reason that she shared, to create a safe space for women to come and network, because sometimes women might come to my events with men and women, might feel a bit uncomfortable, might feel intimidated, so I create that safe space twice. And I never felt the need to say, trans women can't come. know what I'm saying? I just feel like I don't need to create a discourse for myself. And I think that my opinion as a business owner sometimes is that it's good to just be neutral sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's good to keep as many people happy as possible. And I think it's also good to stand for something as well. So, which is why I want you guys to tell me what you lot's thoughts are. You know what I'm saying? I wanna have a really high level conversation around like what lessons can be learned. Because I do think there's power in standing for something. You know what I'm saying? But I also think there's power in just trying to keep as many people happy as possible and being neutral. Because I look at the biggest brands in the world, right? I look at Apple, I look at Nike, Samsung. You know, they do rub people off the wrong way, yeah, but for the most part, you don't really see Apple in discourse online, you know what I'm saying? Or you don't really see Mercedes in discourse online. And I think that the reason being is because, like, I think this can go two ways. I think it could be an amazing thing where, like, she stood for something and people that align with what she stands for are like, you know what, I'm with you. But at the same time, I feel like, do you want a group of people that just hate you, like, and they're outside your gym, camping outside your gym? Same way you see people camping outside universities, they camp outside your gym, the members of your gym are getting abused as they're walking in. Do you know what I'm saying? Do you want that? Like, I just think that sometimes there's power in just, I think as an individual, as a person, personal brand, you got to stand for something, innit? But I feel like when it comes to a business now, yeah, that is there for society, sometimes it's important, yeah, just to be neutral. It's not even a thing of like being neutral, yeah, and like, you know, because I feel like every single business needs to stand for something. There's more thing of like, let the product or service do the talking when it comes to business, innit? Like, let that do the talking, like, let that do the work, like, let the service be so good, you know, that's the discourse, not the politics, all that stuff, innit? So that's why, what do you lot think, man? You know what I'm saying? Like, what's you lot's angle, honestly? Because I'm trying to learn, I'm trying to give the young G's a lesson from this year, but I'm still figuring it out myself. And I think like a lot will be unsolved until we see the success of the gym, you know what I'm saying? Which I hope still goes on to be successful, because I think it's an amazing idea, you know what I'm saying? But what lessons can we take from this?
Disclaimer, I am not giving my opinion because I am self-PR trained. That being said, we live in a society that yearns for inclusion. Our generation that we live in, we love of inclusivity, diversity. It makes our mouth water. In creating a women's only gym, you challenge that societal value. In reality, you would always be at risk of facing some type of backlash for not being inclusive. However, I'm 99% sure that this woman has contemplated the consequences and backlash for years. A lot of people were on board with the segregation, let's just call it that for now, until it did not align with the vision that they had for a women's only gym. Also, my mic isn't on if you haven't already clocked. It was just for aesthetic purposes.
I really need black women to know that transphobia isn't going to get them anything that they want in this world. In fact, it will make it so much harder for you. I have no idea why you think that oppressing trans people, a community that could definitely do with a safe space, is the hill to die on. I think like we're definitely in telling times that you think that the best port of call for your business is to be transphobic and exclude trans women, when in fact what you've done is exclude all women. Like, all women that know that trans women are women will not be going to your establishment. Like, you've already put your business down in the dumps. Like, what is going on? Like, what is going on? Like, I find it absolutely astonishing. I think what makes this worse is the fact that she originally stated that her gym will be inclusive to every type of woman, when in fact you have orchestrated every type of woman. You've orchestrated women with PCOS. Like, I could go on. Like, it's quite crazy.
I just wanted to come on here and address everything that is circulating on the internet right now. And it's very heavy. It is a lot. And I think a lot has also somewhat been misconstrued. And for anyone that doesn't know what I'm talking about, essentially I posted a video and I said that my women's only gym, the Girl Spot, will be operating as a single sex space. So it'll be female only. So at this current time, it won't be trans inclusive. And I want to preface and say that this decision was not made lightly. It took me 4 years to make this decision, and I spent a great deal of time speaking to trans women. I spoke to charities, I spoke to Muslim women, I spoke to so many different communities about this topic. And what really saddens me is that so many people are saying that I'm transphobic. I thoroughly researched. I seeked legal advice. I spoke to communities. I spoke to trans women themselves, which I found very important to do so, to see how to navigate all of this, because I am not trans. So obviously the decision to make it was not based on excluding any individuals. It wasn't based on malice, nothing of the sort. the decision was based on the simple fact that I have been sexually assaulted inside of a gym. That is why I stand here as a women's only gym owner. I was sexually assaulted inside of a gym, which means a lot of trauma and a lot of emotion and well-being is behind this project. This is not just a gym. Like, so many of the women that are coming to my women's only gym is because they have also been sexually assaulted or sexually harassed or faced gym intimidation inside mixed gyms and faced that by men. So it's very important to know that this was not an easy decision. I didn't just wake up. I didn't just say, oh, no trans women allowed. Like, I've really thought this through. And like, when I made that tweet in 2021 about being trans inclusive, I had just started this project. I was 21 years old, or 20 years old actually at the time. And what the girl spot meant then is not what the girl spot means now. And that is why I said in my video that I'm labelling it as a single sex space and it'll be female only, because I want to do so many classes around self-defense so that women can defend themselves against men, so that like boxing and Muay Thai is so incredibly important at the girl spot. And I want to do classes on like PCOS and like hormone imbalances and training on our menstrual cycle. So it is very much female orientated, you know? And I so strongly believe that everybody deserves a safe space. Like, if you are a true, authentic follower of mine, you know that I am not transphobic. You know how much I stand for safe spaces for everyone. It's so incredibly important to me, and that's why this really, really has gotten to me, because this is not how I ever anticipated this to go. Of course, I know that people would be hurt and feel a way about it, but like, I care so much about safe spaces, and I believe trans women deserve and need their own safe spaces, you know? Like, it's a really kind of difficult space to navigate. And like, I am one single independent gym owner. My gym is tiny, you know? I'm nowhere near the size of like LA Fitness or David Lloyd's if you're in the UK. Like, I'm one very, very small gym. And I know a lot of people said, why don't you have trans only hours or a trans space inside of the gym? Like, the gym is tiny. It's a very boutique gym, and like, I'm very limited, you know, and I don't have the capital and all of that. So whilst I understand the anger around backtracking in terms of what I said in 2021, like, I do feel bad about that, but the reason why it is female only is so incredibly important, you know? Like, I want so many girls and women to feel so safe. Like, this is very much coming from a trauma and assault perspective. Like I said, like, I don't know if I would be standing here today if I wasn't sexually assaulted inside of a gym. Like, that was my driving force, and like, I feel like so many people have looked over it, which really upsets me also, because like, that was such a huge thing, you know? Like, any woman that experiences sexual assault in any degree is awful, and I'm getting so much hate and so much comments and everything. And I feel like nobody's really understanding that I've been a victim of insane, like, harassment, intimidation, assault, and it's been awful. And I just say all this to say, like, this was not a light decision. This was not me plucking this out of thin air or wanting to exclude trans women. I've spoken to so many. I even spoke to charities, you know? So yeah, I just wanted to clear it up and offer clarity on why I am doing this. And the real true meaning behind the girl spot and everything that will be going on inside. I know to many people, everyone thinks it's just a gym that will have, a treadmill or two and women can just come down. No, like, there are workshops, activations, events, classes that are so specific to feeling more equipped. I'm partnering with women in safety charities that sell certain things like panic alarms, rape alarms, because I care so much about women's safety. So yeah, I just wanted to put this out there and like clear it up of sort, or just really dive into why I am doing this and why I've taken this stance. And like I said, everyone deserves a safe space. Trans women deserve a safe space, but it's just a really obviously tough realm to navigate as one single independent person.
Oh my gosh. I think this whole explanation she's giving right here just made it all worse. Because, I mean, girl, you retracted your statement. You said it was going to be an all-inclusive gym, and right now you are backtracking and saying, oh, it's going to be just, um natural female or whatever it's being called only. I mean, like, your word should be your bond, and if you are backtracking on your word this way, why should anyone trust anything that is coming out of your mouth? And with the fact that there were people who believed in that dream and supported and donated, I'm not saying whatever it is they donated was the only thing she used. But I mean, you saw support from people, and then right now you're backtracking and saying no. Well, I mean, she can do whatever she wants to do with the gym, but the fact that she made it openly and said, oh, everyone, it was an inclusive gym for all females, and then right now she's going back on her words. Well, I just think people have every right to, yap at her and say whatever it is they're saying to her. That is just my thought, but I don't know what you think. Please feel free to leave your thoughts in the comment section, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye for now.